ever get that feeling? Like you're being pulled in a million directions at once.
Yes, I mean,
It's like just being able to sit and focus on one thing has become some kind of superpower these days.
right, like it's this rare and precious skill.
Totally. And that's exactly what we're going deep on today. Like, what are all the things that are messing with our ability to pay attention?
And not just pay attention, but to really think deeply about stuff.
Exactly. It's like our brains are constantly under attack. So to help us unpack all of this, we're turning to Johann Hari's book, Stolen Focus.
Stolen Focus, yeah, great book. He really goes in depth on why we can't seem to pay attention anymore.
And how we can learn to think deeply again. That's the important part. So in this deep dive, we're going to pull out the key insights from the book and hopefully give you some tools to fight back against this attention crisis.
Absolutely. And I think a good place to start is with Hari's own personal experience.
Right. It wasn't like he just woke up one day and decided to write a book about attention. He was struggling with it himself.
Yeah, he talks about how he couldn't even focus enough to read a novel anymore. And that's something he always loved to do.
It was like a huge wake-up call for him.
He was like, wait, what's going on here? Why can't I do this anymore?
And his response was pretty extreme. He basically went off the grid for 3 months. No phone, no internet, nothing.
Yeah, he went to Provincetown, this little town on Cape Cod, and just completely unplugged.
Can you even imagine doing that today? I feel like I'd have a panic attack after like an hour.
I know, right? And people's reactions to him doing this were so telling.
They're either like, you're crazy, or I wish I could do that.
Exactly. It really shows how dependent we've become on technology. But for Hari, that time away was crucial. It made him realize that this wasn't just a personal problem.
Right. It wasn't just him being lazy or lacking willpower.
It was something much bigger. He was like, this is happening to everyone. Something's wrong with our society.
And that's when he started to investigate, talking to experts, and really digging into the research on attention.
And one of the first things he looks at is the pace of modern life.
Which is just insane, right? Everything is so fast.
It's like we're all on this crazy treadmill that just keeps speeding up.
And it's not just a feeling. There's actual data to back this up.
Yeah, Hari talks about this researcher, Sun Lehman, who analyzed all sorts of data. Google searches, movie ticket sales, Reddit topics, you name it.
And what did he find?
He found that the lifespan of our collective attention is shrinking. Like, rapidly.
We get interested in things faster, but then we lose interest just as quickly?
Exactly. Like, think about how quickly things go viral and then disappear.
It's like we have this collective case of FOMO, fear of missing out. We're constantly worried that we're not keeping up.
And it's almost like we've been programmed to think that faster is always better.
Right. Remember those old tech slogans? Anything worth doing is worth doing faster.
Yeah. Or like Google's internal motto, don't be evil. Just kidding. It was fast is better than slow. Yeah. So we've got this cultural obsession with speed. But Hari also brings in some really interesting research that suggests that slowing down might actually be the key to improving our attention.
Really? That's counterintuitive.
I know, right? But he talks about this guy, Guy Claxton, who found that doing things slowly, like yoga or Tai Chi or meditation, can actually help us focus better.
It's like giving our brains a break from the constant stimulation.
Exactly. And it allows us to process information more deeply.
And there's actually some pretty compelling neuroscience to support this.
Yeah, Hari quotes this MIT neuroscientist, Earl Miller, who says that being constantly distracted is like being drunk.
Wow, that's a pretty strong statement.
I know. It's like all those notifications and alerts and things that we're constantly bombarded with, they're actually impairing our cognitive abilities.
So that whole idea of multitasking,
Yeah.
that we can be on our phones and our computers and watching TV all at the same time and still be productive.
Yeah, that's a myth.
Our brains just aren't wired that way.
Nope. We need to focus on one thing at a time if we want to do it well.
Okay, so we've talked about the pace of life. Now let's move on to another huge factor. Technology.
Which is designed to be addictive, right?
Totally. It's like these tech companies are intentionally trying to hook us.
They're really good at it.
So Hari delves into this whole area of persuasive technology.
Yeah, he talks about Tristan Harris and the Persuasive Technology Lab at Stanford.
And Harris's main point is that technology is not neutral.
Right. It's designed to change our behavior, whether we realize it or not.
And the way it's designed is often at odds with our own well-being.
Like, think about social media. The whole business model is based on keeping us engaged for as long as possible.
So they can collect more data on us and sell more ads.
Exactly. And this leads to all sorts of problems.
Like, the more time we spend on these platforms, the less time we have for things like sleep, exercise, and real-life relationships.
And then there's the whole issue of algorithms.
Which are designed to show us content that's going to keep us hooked, even if it's not good for us.
Yeah, like outrage and anger are really effective at getting people to click and share.
So the algorithms end up amplifying the most divisive and extreme content.
And this can have real-world consequences.
Hari talks about how YouTube was recommending Alex Jones's InfoWars videos billions of times.
Billions? That's insane.
And it's not just YouTube. Facebook has also been accused of amplifying misinformation and hate speech.
It's like these platforms are designed to exploit our weaknesses.
And it's not just about the algorithms, it's also about the design of the platforms themselves.
It's like, think about infinite scroll.
You just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and you never reach the end.
It's designed to keep you hooked. And the crazy thing is, the guy who invented infinite scroll, Asa Raskin, has actually come out and said that he regrets creating it.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, I didn't realize how addictive it would be. I just wanted to make it easier for people to find information.
So we've got the pace of life, we've got technology, but Hari argues that there's something even bigger at play here.
What's that?
Systemic issues.
Wow.
He says that it's not enough to just tell people to be more mindful or to try harder to focus.
Because the system itself is working against us.
Exactly. It's like telling someone to just pull themselves up by their bootstraps when they're living in poverty.
It completely ignores the structural factors that are keeping them down.
So what are some of these systemic issues?
Well, one of the biggest is sleep deprivation.
Oh, yeah. We're all so sleep deprived these days.
It's like a badge of honor.
But it's actually really bad for us.
It affects our mood, our health, and our ability to focus.
Hari talks about this researcher, Charles Czeisler, who says that being sleep deprived is like being drunk.
Again, with the drunk comparison.
I know, right? But it really is that serious.
He says that even just one night of bad sleep can significantly impair our cognitive abilities.
And it's especially bad for kids.
Yeah, sleep deprivation can lead to hyperactivity and impulsivity in children.
Which can then be misdiagnosed as ADHD.
Exactly. And then they get put on medication, which might mask the symptoms but doesn't address the underlying problem.
Which is that they're not getting enough sleep.
Right. And this is a huge problem in our society.
Like, we're all so busy and stressed that we just don't prioritize sleep.
And it's almost like our economy is dependent on sleep deprivation.
Because if people are sleeping, they're not spending money.
Exactly. So there's this perverse incentive to keep people tired and wired.
Okay, so sleep deprivation is one big systemic issue. What else?
Another one is the way we read.
What do you mean?
Well, Hari talks about how reading on screens is different from reading on paper.
Oh, yeah. I definitely read differently on my phone than I do in a book.
Most people do.
Yeah.
When we read on screens, we tend to skim and scan.
We're looking for keywords and quick hits of information.
And this can actually change the way our brains work.
Like, we become less able to focus for extended periods of time.
And we might also become less empathetic.
Really? How so?
Well, Reid talks about this researcher, Raymond Marr, who found that reading novels can actually help us develop empathy.
Because when we read fiction, we're putting ourselves in the shoes of the characters.
Exactly. We're imagining what it's like to be them, to feel what they feel.
And this can make us more understanding of other people in real life.
Right. So by shifting away from reading novels and towards reading short, fragmented pieces of information on screens, we might be losing some of our capacity for empathy.
That's really interesting. Now, Hari also talks about something that might seem counterintuitive when we're talking about attention.
What's that?
Mind wandering.
Right.
He says that mind wandering is actually really important for creativity and problem solving.
Yeah, it's like giving our brains a chance to roam free and make new connections.
He talks about this thing called the default mode network.
Which is basically the network of brain regions that's active when we're not focused on a specific task.
So when we're daydreaming or just letting our minds wander, that's when the default mode network is active.
And this network is really important for creativity.
Because it allows us to make connections between seemingly unrelated ideas.
And to come up with new solutions to problems.
Hari uses this analogy of a symphony orchestra.
Oh, I like that one.
He says that focused attention is like a solo instrument.
And mind wandering is like the whole orchestra playing together.
Exactly. You need both to create a beautiful and complex piece of music.
And the same is true for our brains. We need both focused attention and mind wandering to function at our best.
Okay, so we've talked about sleep deprivation, we've talked about reading, we've talked about mind wandering. Now let's talk about childhood.
Because the environment in which children grow up has a huge impact on their ability to focus.
Absolutely. And Hari talks about how adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, can really damage a child's developing brain.
Yeah, things like abuse, neglect, and trauma can lead to hypervigilance and anxiety.
Which can make it really hard for kids to focus in school.
And it can also lead to problems later in life.
Like addiction, mental health issues, and even physical health problems.
So it's really important to address ACEs and create supportive environments for children.
And one of the most important things we can do for kids is to let them play.
Especially unstructured, free play.
Like playing outside, building forts, making up games.
That kind of play is so important for developing social skills, creativity, and problem-solving abilities.
And it's also really good for attention.
Yeah, when kids are engaged in free play, they're learning to focus and concentrate without even realizing it.
But unfortunately, kids are getting less and less free play these days.
Yeah, between school, homework, and extracurricular activities, a lot of kids don't have much time for unstructured play.
And this is a real problem.
Because it's robbing kids of the chance to develop the skills they need to thrive in life.
So we've talked about a lot of pretty heavy stuff today.
We have. But it's not all doom and gloom.
Hari does offer some hope.
He does. He talks about how we can reclaim our attention.
Like, what are some things we can do?
Well, he starts by talking about his own personal journey.
Right. He went off the grid for 3 months.
But he doesn't expect everyone to do that.
Well, of course not.
But he does suggest that we all try to reduce our screen time.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea for all of us.
And he also talks about the importance of sleep, exercise, and spending time in nature.
All things that are good for our overall well-being.
Exactly. And he also suggests that we try to be more mindful of our attention.
Like paying attention to what we're paying attention to.
Right.
To.
And noticing when our minds are wandering and gently bringing them back to the present moment.
And he also talks about the importance of creating a more mindful society.
Yeah, like redesigning our technology so that it's less addictive.
And creating more opportunities for free play.
And prioritizing sleep and well-being.
So it's not just about individual changes, it's about systemic change as well.
Exactly. We need to work together to create a world that supports our attention, rather than stealing it.
So there you have it, a deep dive into Johann Hari's Stolen Focus. It's a really thought-provoking book that I highly recommend.
Me too. It's definitely made me more aware of how my attention is being pulled in different directions.
And it's given me some ideas about how I can reclaim it.
And hopefully it's done the same for you, dear listener.
Because as Hari says, our attention is our most precious resource.
It's what allows us to think, to learn, to create, and to connect with others.
So we need to protect it.
And fight for it.
Because the forces that are trying to steal it are powerful.
But we can resist.
We can choose to focus on what matters.
And we can create a world where attention is valued and nurtured.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time.